All three of those things. He is former White House press secretary, Sean Spicer. Sean, welcome to Big 550 KTRS here in St. Louis.
Thank you. Good morning, McGraw. Thanks for having me.
So you were on the inside, and you have a special insight into this president, and you had a special role, or at least a view of what's been going on. What is it? Explain to people who don't like Donald Trump. What is it that they're not seeing that the Trump supporters are seeing?
Well, I think there's a few things. One is I think there's a lot of misinformation about who he is as a person and what his motivations are that is perpetuated over and over again. I write about this in the book, that there are plenty of times where I've seen him be caring and empathetic, in ways that I don't think most people see or want to see or are shown. There's a lot about his motives. I mean, it's interesting. I think that when it comes to, like, if you look at the issue of, like, trade right now, this is a guy who's been articulating his views on trade since the 1980s and talking about fighting for American workers and free and fair trade. And whether or not you agree with the position or not, it is something that I don't know why it perplexes people, because he has been talking about it for so long in terms of how he thinks the issue needs to be addressed. And yet there is this constant, questioning of how it's all happening, and it's been kind of staring at people in plain daylight.
No question. He has been an anti-free trader or lover of tariffs for a long time. So you're right. We're shocked that now he's putting tariffs on people. I think the confusion
just to be clear, I look at this as he believes that the American worker is not getting the best deal possible, and that we are providing a greater degree of market access for other countries and our trading partners than we are given in their countries to those customers for our companies. And I think that I wouldn't say that he's a lover of tariffs, because I think if you saw just this morning, he put out something that said, hey, look, when I meet with the Europeans, let's all agree to take down our tariffs. I think his view is fairly consistent, which is, if we're going to allow market access to our market and to our consumers, then there should be some degree of reciprocity with our trading partners.
I don't want to get into the policies of the day. I want to get into well, because I could sit and argue the whole time, but I'd much rather talk about you and where you sat and your view and your book. Do you think that the media is the enemy of the United States citizen?
No, I don't. And I've said on multiple, and in fact, not just have I said it, it's in the book. I talk about the fact that a democracy, especially ours, is the beacon of democracies around the world, needs to have a robust and free press corps. I believe there are great journalists. There are a number of them that I, by name, cite in the book, that I say I don't agree with a lot of their stories. I've tangled with a lot of them, but I respect them, and I think that they are top-notch professionals. So I don't think you should paint any industry or group with a broad brush. I don't like it when people do it about Republicans or conservatives, but I do think that where individuals' either behavior or reporting is questionable, it should be called out. But equally, I offer praise for many reporters that I think do a good job.
Sean Spicer, our guest for a couple minutes. The book is called The Briefing: Politics, the Press, and the President. Some people said that he was somewhat vindictive towards you and not allowing you to meet the Pope as a devout Catholic. Would you like to tell the truth on that actual story?
Yeah, it's actually, there's a big part of it in the book where I talk about it. I mean, there were 5 people that were part of that manifest for that meeting. I mean, look, here's the thing. This is what I find fascinating about that narrative. The President of the United States has meetings all the time, whether it's in the Oval Office in Washington, on the road, here in the United States, or abroad. He chooses who he wants in each meeting, and there was this assumption by the press corps that somehow I deserved to be in the meeting because because all of these people talk about my faith on my behalf, which is very kind of them, and said that I somehow deserved to be in there. There was a small manifest of people that were accompanying the president. I was not on that. I knew that. We obviously, the president's schedule and planning trips are decided well before he takes off, and yet a lot of the press corps wanted to make an issue out of that when we got there, and I write about it extensively. But more importantly, McGraw, I talk about the fact that, look, I am someone who believes that my faith is central to who I am, and I believe that God has a plan, and that what I got was I did not meet the Pope at that meeting, but I did. I talk about in the book how one of the president's aides brought a handful of rosary beads and that the Pope put his hand on there. There's literally a picture in the book of him doing that I was then able to share with people. And then there was a subsequent meeting that I was able to go over a few weeks later and bring my family to meet with the Holy Father. And I believe that was God's plan for me. I don't think that being able to just go into a meeting by myself and not share it with others was what he wanted at the time, and that sometimes it's not always about what we want and instant gratification. And it was interesting how many people wrote that story about me and my faith without ever talking to me. And part of the reason I wanted to write the book, The Briefing, was to be able to tell people what was actually going on behind the scenes, whether it was, in that case, a very personal moment, an experience, or the convention, the campaign, the transition, or the White House, is because there's so much that people read and go, okay, well, that must be what happened. And in many cases, it wasn't.
Well, that's why you wrote the book, The Briefing, Politics, the Press, and the President. I have one personal question and one more news question. Do you think Saturday Night Live and Melissa McCarthy went over the line making fun of you?
Well, look, I think Melissa's a talented actor. She reads lines and performs a bit. So I think, she, like a lot of other people, played a part. And I respect that. I think she's talented. The first one was unbelievably funny and, frankly, a little well-deserved. I think the other ones were a little mean-spirited and went over the line. Look, and they have their right to do that. But the thing that I find fascinating to me is, I guess the question is, if they're supposed to be about comedy and funny, then it seemed like they went a little bit more into like really making it a personal attack, which is their right to do. I just don't know that the audience looks at that and says, hey, that's funny. The first one, hands down, was funny.
All right, fair enough. All right, here's my personal question. The book is called The Briefing.
I thought that was pretty personal.
No. I have a personal question.
Okay.
The Briefing, Politics, the Press, and the President, Sean Spicer. Sean, I'm a graduate of Manhasset High in 1985. The Mooch is from Port Washington. Are you from Manhasset?
I was born there, but I think we stayed literally a few months after my birth and then moved.
Okay, so it's not the water.
Well, maybe it is.
Maybe it is. All right, there you go. Fair enough. Sean, good luck with the book. Thanks for checking in.